I've been told by everybody up on this roof that they're all off the roof. I am on the roof of exposure 4. Got fire through the roof of the fire building in the entire rear section.
Now remember, given the payday, has he been accounted for? Okay.
610B. That was the name date. 610B.
I'm here. We got a fire. 1.5-story, single-family dwelling. Fire shown from the second floor. Give me a second alarm on this.
Coming up to the top floor. I got people hanging out the top floor windows with a baby.
Commercial building. A lot of fire, a lot of smoke. Go ahead and strike a third alarm on my orders on this.
Got people on the front fire escape here with windows vented below them. We need somebody up there.
Yeah, let them know we got a job. I'm pulling up now. Second alarm, I got a 1-story single-family frame. Heavy fire showing from the attic.
So we're using all hands. We got one line stretch, fire on the 4th floor, second line being stretched. Primary searches are underway.
Hey, welcome back to Old School. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, along with my buddy Chief John Salka, and we've been, making some adjustments, John. This whole COVID-19 and I don't know. I know you and I both have, like all our other partners and the guys we run with, fellow wizards and instructors, and that have had to cancel and reschedule. I know both of us have done like 30 programs have been rescheduled, but I guess you brought up a great idea the other day, and we'll spend some time talking about today. But how are we doing with the whole social distancing and training, whether it's in the Valley place, or the career place, or even like the outside classrooms and stuff, John? I mean, I guess the first thing is what are you seeing as the challenges? Let's just start off with one easy in your volunteer fire department.
Well, a lot of volunteer fire departments, and you and I have a lot of exposure to guys all over the country, whether it's via email or just talking to them on the phone or seeing them at conferences and all. Although we haven't been out traveling, for several months now. So you can suspend seminars, you can suspend long distance training, you suspend conferences. You can't suspend training. You can't suspend in-service training. You can't suspend training of your small volunteer or your small career department just because there's a COVID emergency. Obviously, there's a bunch of hazards out there that we're not used to, and there's a bunch of precautions that most of us are going to have to follow. But it's really not that hard, actually, and that's why you and I decided to do this topic today. Because there's just a couple of things you can do out there, and it's not just a couple; it's a few more than that. But to make continuation of your training, an easier thing to do. It's not this big insurmountable thing. Sometimes you'll watch the news and it's like, holy cow! You can't leave the house, you can't go shopping, you can't touch anybody, you can't breathe, and you can't get an elevator. But we can still do training. We can still conduct some company meetings for those volunteer departments that have monthly meetings and things like that. And I think it's a great topic. Hopefully some folks out there are already doing the things we're going to bring up. And hopefully this is maybe news or a variation for some folks that are maybe struggling with it or maybe haven't tried anything. I know the volunteer fire department in my village, right here, we really suspended everything for a while initially. Closed the firehouse down, no going in the firehouse except for response to alarms, period. Not really period. Once a week, 1 or 2 people would show up and check the rigs out, change the batteries, make sure the fuel was up, make sure, start the rigs up a little bit. But it was restricted to 1 or 2 people in the building at a time, a bay away from each other. And that was held strict. This is with face pieces, face masks on, and not face pieces from SCBA, but face masks and that. And that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I must tell you, we suspended training, and a lot of places did that, and that was fine. But then it started taking a turn, and everybody said, you know what? We got to do something. We just can't go on 2 months, 3 months, 4 months like this. So
right.
Here's what happened here, which I thought was pretty cool. We decided to open a firehouse. In other words, not the social firehouse, not inside, not the offices, not hanging around, not the kitchen, but we opened up the bays and said, okay, now on Wednesday nights, which is drill night.
Well, and let me ask you a quick question, John. I don't mean to interrupt you. Well, I guess I do, but I mean, how hard is that? I mean, especially you got career guys that love what they do, but you got volleys that love what they do. They love hanging at the firehouse. There's a need that you and I both as volunteers and the guys and gals we run with, there's that need to come hang out at the firehouse, right? There's that need to go, I'm gonna go out and hang at the firehouse tonight or whatever. And now we're telling them, well, we got to slow that down a little bit. I mean, we don't want you not to come up here, but we can't have the large groups hanging, what I'm saying? Let me just ask you real quick. I know you did it. How did that go? Because a lot of people have been asking, how do I control my volleys, without curbing the enthusiasm? How do I say, okay, guys, we got to, how'd that go?
I'm not quite sure about the enthusiasm of curbing it. Although I must tell you, I have seen no slide in the enthusiasm. I've seen no reduction in the number of guys showing up. It's not like a couple of guys are saying, I'll get active again when a place is open or anything. So we really haven't lost anybody, or anybody really hasn't lost interest generally. I got to say, in a way, sort of in an old school way, it was almost easy because we got everybody together. We said, hey, here's the story, folks. The firehouse is closed. That means no going in there. No upstairs, no downstairs, no stopping by to meet somebody for 10 minutes, no going inside just to get your stuff. The firehouse is closed. If we get a run, the firehouse is open. You can go in, you can get your gear, and out you go. Now, and I'll go through some of the response restrictions that we had as well. We had restrictions on response as well. And then coming back, there was a whole scenario that had to be gone through each time we backed in. Again, everybody could quickly move in and put their gear back on the rack and then leave the firehouse. If you want to hang around at the firehouse after a run, no problem. Outside on the apron with proper distancing, right? And one or two people would be designated, and we had the stuff out and available. Paper towels and disinfectant, all the door handles, the steering wheel, everything else would all be rushed just to try and negate any possible infection from that run. And then the doors would be closed and the run sheet put in, and the run was over. Now for the run, and it was pretty interesting, and I saw this elsewhere, said everything but structural fires. Structural fires, all bets are off. Everybody gets on the rig. We do what we got to do. However, all apparatus windows are open. No apparatus windows can be closed. I realize it's the middle of May, June, July, and it's not cold, but even if it was 20 degrees outside, the windows would be open. And other than structural fires, only obviously two people in the cab. We have an engine operator or a truck operator and the officer or the front seat, position. And then we only put two people in the crew cab, even though it was able to hold, 4 or 6, depending on what rig it was. And I only put 2. And the one person had to sit directly behind the chauffeur, facing backwards. The other person had to sit on the officer's side, facing forwards, which was as far away as I could get them from each other, with the windows open for the run. When they got to the run, nobody gets off the rig except the officer. He gets off the rig by himself, and he goes to the door. And again, he observes social distancing, and he knocks on the door, and he inquires verbally, did you call the fire department? Is this about an illness? Is this about a gas leak? Is this about whatever it was? And then he would call on the portable radio, send me one guy to the front with the gas detector, or bring one guy, or whatever it was. So even for emergency responses, we didn't scale anything down. We cut staffing. We cut the occupancy on the rig. The windows are open. They're open right now. Back in the firehouse or out on a run, rain or not, windows are open, and everybody stays on the rig to limit their exposure, obviously, to folks at the scene who could walk up to them and say, hey, this is what happened or whatever. That was just runs. We're not even talking about training.
And in so many other places too. I mean, talking with the folks in Louisville about, and other people, EMS runs, one attendee, like you said, one attendant, going masked up, visiting with the patient. If they exhibit any symptoms or whatever, then, obviously they put a mask on them right away. So if they don't have one on, they put one on them. They've got them. The rest of the crew, like you say, is back here or outside, or stand at the door, and if they need some help, and then they could do it. And I guess, John, like you're saying, and what you said in a nutshell, I guess, is the smart thing is, like we said, even before this happened, you and I have talked about this, before this happened, it's always been about proper hygiene, not sneezing on people, covering your mouth, sticking it in your whatever they call your inside elbow, cleaning up after you, just, that kind of stuff. So it's just now we've had to make some adjustments to be smart to reduce our exposures however we can. It doesn't mean, like you said, we can't train. Doesn't mean we can't go on. We have to go on runs. We have to go on runs. And unfortunately for us, when it comes to that, we're a very physical, sweaty, demanding service. If you think about it, there's, aside from walking in, hey, Mr. Salka, how you doing? How you blah, 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 and then leaving, next thing we're carrying stretchers, people downstairs, we're stretch, or as far as we're stretching lines, and we're getting all sweaty, and we're, hollering back and forth and doing stuff. And it just, so with that puts its own kind of challenge in the mix, if you will. But
Right.
again, if we just do what we're supposed to do, and we're smart, like we're telling people, just hey, social distance when you can. You want to come up and hang at the firehouse? We have a means for you to do that, so we don't curb that enthusiasm. We want you fired up out and come out and hang it up here and get out the door quick. We just have to be smarter. I know a lot of career departments, the cities have had, they have so many COVID cases, so many people quarantined. They got to tell their guys, you got to wear your mask to the station now. And when you're on the rigs for non-emergency, you got to wear your mask because they have.
I've heard that.
I know a couple departments, John. They're running out of people. They have so many people sick. They're talking about like browning out firehouses because they don't have the people to staff. 14-day quarantines. Guys that are actually sick that are like, sick. Guys that were exposed and showed.
Have actually lost a couple of folks.
Oh, just so it's and hell, who wants to do that? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to do that stuff? I mean, it's just, but
it wasn't comfortable, because telling guys about mask wearing and I'm the eternal mask, like the mask police, masks. You got a mask? That was my way of always saying, "Where's your mask? Do you have a mask?" They reach in their pocket, they pull it out, they dash back to their car, they pull it out. It was a little hard to get used to, but now it's almost old news now. Like I'm watching commercials and I'm watching TV where they're wearing masks. I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of the car, I'm reaching in my pocket, mask on to go into the supermarket or to go into the hardware store. And so it's just like anything else, we get used to it with repetition and with habit. And so the guys are getting used to it at the firehouse, which is great. That's the most difficult venue, let's say. Once they're on the rig, they know what they got to do. And I told them, masks on in the rig. You got to wear a mask in the rig. You want to protect you and the other guy in the rig with you. And, who knows who you were with 10 minutes ago, especially considering volunteer fire departments. These folks are coming from the far reaches of the neighborhood, of the town, or the village.
Yeah.
Boom, they're all on a rig together. And then they go back out again. The guy might have come from work at the restaurant, or might have come from work working out in the street somewhere, or, his family, he might have come from home. He's laid off and he's home with his 2 kids or 3 kids. So whatever the situation is, listen, CDC and the government and Trump and everybody's made it very clear. Distancing and wearing a mask and washing your hands. And I tell guys to do that all the time. And it's been, I hate to even say it, but we've been very lucky. So that's, that's the runs and the hanging around the firehouse. We still got meetings and we still got training. And those are 2 other activities that we resumed in spite of the COVID. And it's been working out really well.
Well, and so we talked about the trainings, which applies to career and volunteer, like you said. It doesn't matter if it's the volley training night or it's your shift day. Again, talk about the career for a second here. It's God, how difficult you're in that. You're so used to being in that firehouse for most places for 24-hour stint, some longer now with all this overtime. It's like, golly, man. I mean, it's, I had some guys say, look, we work together. All of us tested negative. We don't have, and I'm like, and then you hear the stories where one of the guys went off and, went to a family outing and one of their relatives, in fact, came back, and the whole not showing any symptoms whatsoever, not even knowing they're carrying it kind of stuff. And then yet you give it to other people. So it brings you back where it's like you said, like they've been saying, wear your masks, 6 feet, and wash your hands and then clean up after yourself. Make sure you're cleaning whatever you're touching and whatever you're doing. And, we were supposed to do that in the back of the ambulances on the rigs anyway. Just be a little more aware of that stuff, right?
My wife has been an ambulance, volunteer ambulance person for a long time. And they've been doing that for decades, sanitizing the back of the ambulance after every run, wiping stuff down, hosing stuff out, cleaning stuff out, replacing stuff. Now for career guys, back to career guys, you mentioned them, and it is a different situation, career firefighters and volunteer firefighters, because volunteer firefighters, the run comes in the middle of the day, no matter what else you're doing. Career firefighters come in the morning, let's just say, shift start in the morning, and you're there for the whole day or for a full shift. And to some degree, you got to try and avoid each other. You shouldn't all be sitting on the same couch watching the Three Stooges. You know what I'm saying? Like, suddenly those hotel firehouses, the Holiday Inn firehouse, the individual bedrooms, suddenly those are a little helpful because you know what? Roll call, quick check on the rigs. Okay, fellas, listen, we're going to just try and keep to ourselves for the day.
Well,
and not,
they're okay if you have your own, because we talked about this with another group. If you have your own cubicle, your own bedroom, that's fine. But if you share that, with, it's like I'm in there today, John's in there tomorrow, Jay's in there, Thursday. Okay, you're reducing your exposure, I guess, but there's 2 other people that you're working with or using that room in close proximity, same bed, hot bed. So, so
I'm sure there was some cleaning routine. Guys go in and change the sheets, wipe down the doorknob, almost like going into a hotel room, right?
Yeah.
Wipe down all the surfaces, wipe down the phone, wipe down the doorknob, clean the bathroom real good. Then you're good for 24 hours. At least you cleaned up the place you're going to primarily occupy. And so is the guy across the hall and the guy down the hall, depending on your staffing, right? Then again, we get back to the volunteers, and it becomes more difficult because, there are volunteer fire companies that do 1 or 2 runs every single day. Each run could have some variation of staffing. Some people that weren't on the first one but were on the second one. 5 guys on the first run, 7 guys on the second one. In and out, touching stuff, grabbing gear, grabbing doorknobs, getting on the rig, touching the SCBA handles and stuff like that. So it's a more difficult process because it's, you get called in, you got to clean up. You can't just walk out of the firehouse as we do and lots of other places do. SCBAs, door handles, the seats that they sit on, certainly the steering wheels, and anything that you touch, the radio, microphones for the run, got to all get wiped down after the run, which is a very easy thing to do. One person gets designated to do that, and they just go through with, with the wipies or whatever material you're using to do that. And then you can chase them out of there, and you don't have to worry about exposure
right.
anymore.
And we talked about
runs over.
Pretty simple thing. If you can spit on it, or if you can spray, or the vapor, if you will, I know it's, if that little bit's coming out, but if you're talking, you're on a run and you're driving and you're talking, so that means not just, I see guys clean just the steering wheel, and I'm like, well, how about the center part? Just get, just remember what you're trying to do. And if you could, it's like, remember all the little videos, the little pictures, they show the picture of the guy on the airplane, and it shows the sneeze and where all the sneeze stuff goes.
Right.
All right,
Right.
Think about that with your rig and all that stuff. So again, you got your volunteers, which we both love.
One more
go ahead,
point
go ahead,
before
go
you
ahead,
get that. Another important point to remember, and I just remembered this. I was in an elevator. I had cause to be in an elevator. And, the elevator said 2 people only in the elevator, blah, blah, blah. I got in, I was by myself, had my mask. Another guy gets in, and I did like I did in the apparatus. I stepped to the back corner of the elevator. He stepped in and stayed right near the front. We without saying anything, we just stayed away from each other. But then he turned and started talking to me. Gee, this is crazy, isn't it? With just 2 guys in the elevator. You know what I did? I had my mask on. You know what I did? You know what? So let's get in the elevator, worry about contaminating each other, and he starts talking to me. What happens when you talk? It's not the same as a sneeze or a cough, but it's an outrush of vapor and particles.
And John,
don't talk in the apparatus on a run. Don't talk to each other unless you have to.
Yeah, I just went to lunch with Paul, one of the chaplains for Wichita Falls Fire here in Texas. Good guy. Fellow Long Islander, moved from Long Island, was a volley up there. Dad was an NYPD cop, and he doesn't talk like he's from here at all, as you can imagine. He's still talking like he's out on Long Island, which is great. But I'm walking into the restaurant for lunch, and right now we're clamping things down here in Texas because the numbers are up there. And I have my mask on, and there's these 4 guys are walking in kind of behind, and I can hear them laughing about me. They're all like, "Well, I guess did you remember your mask?" I don't remember. And I'm like, and it was kind of, and I didn't say nothing. I went, all right, that's fine. I'm not going to be the mask police, like you said. You know what? I can only worry about myself. And I can't force people around me. But you know what? Like you said, I can take corrective. I was in a hotel that a little while back for teaching for the Dallas Firefighters Union, Local 58. Great fire department, great group. And same thing. I got to the elevator and there was like 2 people waiting to get on. I go, oh, I'll take the next one. Yep. And everybody's fine with it. 2 or 3, and just
you got to take it a step further, because I've been on elevators where I was on the elevator already. An elevator stopped on another floor. And it was me and a second person in the elevator. And it was in a hotel that had signs on every floor, 2 people in the elevator. And the elevator doors open up, and there was 1 or 2 people standing there with the bewildered look on their face, like, do I get in or not get in? And you know what I do? Take the next one. I tell them, don't come in. You can't rely on everybody else's good sense, because half the people in America don't have good sense.
Well, you and I talked about, they started opening. We have a great governor here in Texas, and we trying to open up the economy. And I told you this. You and I talked on the phone once. I said, it's like there's never been a virus. It's like we're in the grocery store and people are like bumping into you or standing next to you. And I'm like, well, the governor said we can go out now. Well, yeah, but I mean, and anyway, that all being said, we've been talking mass stuff, so on and so forth. So we're talking, hanging, coming out from, meetings at the firehouse, at the Valley Place, training, and then showing up for work at your career place, so forth. Because the other night I told you I went and spent a couple hours at Wichita West with our good friend Ryan Fetzer and his crew there, the Volleys, and they were doing their rig checks, and it was drilling, and a big group of them, and they were, none of them were on top of each other. They're all keeping their, and they checked their rigs just fine, and they talked just fine, and they did everything just fine, and nobody was, leaning on each other, spitting at each other. They just, like he treats his people like they're adults, and they are, and they all did. I was watching; they all did perfect. There was no issues.
Meetings, as you mentioned, meetings are another separate issue, because by virtue of the fact that it's a meeting, it's a collection of people, it's a group, right? So you're sort of inviting a group together, and again, a local fire department they had a company officers meeting, and what they did was they said, we're going to have it outside in the they had a, what do you call it, out the back of the firehouse, a covered shed where they did different things, and they said, so it was open to the open air, but there was a roof over their heads, and they put some chairs out there, and the chairs were all 6 or 7 feet apart in a big circle. And the 6 or 8 officers had an officers meeting out there. Everybody had a mask on. They were 6 or 8 feet apart from each other. They were still literally outside. And they conducted an officers meeting. And the exact same process occurred there that would have happened inside a meeting or inside a hall or something like that. Just a little bit more, pre-planning and moving of furniture around and stuff.
Well, and I've seen, John, people doing the same thing on the apparatus floor. Maybe they got 4 bays or 3 bays, so they back out a couple rigs, the non-essential, if you don't want to keep them out, whatever, and they spread their chairs out, like
we're supposed to have a company meeting there. You can have 30 guys there.
Yeah.
If it's good enough.
And you spread them all out. Hell, if it's nice out or decent, you can have the doors open, So I guess, and you and I know we both love firefighters. We love our families come first, but you and I love the fire service more than life itself. And we put firefighters at the top of our list, not to sound partial, but I guess we are. And they're some of the most creative people, some of the most adaptable people, some of the most, what I'm saying, they overcome any obstacle. And I'll be honest, John, I think a lot of them are doing a pretty good job with this. I mean, you look at all the guys that are doing, instead of bringing the companies together, if it's not necessarily hands-on, they're doing the Zoom training. I used to think it was pretty cool. When I went to Round Rock, Texas, great fire department, I went down there and did a class for them, John. They had this is long before Zoom and all the rest of the stuff. I remember I told you they had the digital, they had the big screen, a big, real nice screen, high-def screen. And just like you see Zoom, like us, all of a sudden, station one would bing, 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 bing. They'd all start coming on the screen all around there. And like the BC used to do roll call with his officers. Instead of, all of a sudden, it's before their shift, and all of a sudden, bing, their station 2, bing, their station, because they had the cameras either in a little training room or in their kitchen or their day room. And the captain sent a lieutenant, and he would talk to him and say, hey, John, okay, remember, we'll come by there. Okay, yeah, I got the paperwork for you. Just like you would do on the phone. He's got them all right in front of him. Question, I thought, too bad everybody can't afford that, but that was a pretty cool system. And then they did the same thing. When I was doing my classes, I had guys in outlining firehouses, so they have to, because they can't take everybody service, go, Chief, I got a question for you. Who's got the question? I had the mics. Now with Zoom, like you and I have been using Zoom for a long time, long before COVID, now you've got this platform where you can, now you're limited with the free version, I guess, to a couple people for 45 minutes. But even the packages some of the departments are using, John, are not that expensive. And you got this ability to now, we are doing that. And hell, people are using it to talk to their families. So actually being able to teach a class, it's a little different. But then, someone said it's so hard, watching a video. Now, I did the South Carolina State Firefighters, they did a little mini conference, John. And I did my class, the Volunteer Firefighter Defining Commitment. And they had all the people sign up, and I saw them all on there, tons of people. But it is different because, you and I are both motivated. We wander around all this. So I had to keep telling myself, Rick, do this like you do your videos. Do this like you do, where you've got to be a little more animated on the screen. And I had some people say, well, not for that one. But another, they say, yeah, we're trying to do this, and it's kind of hard. I go, so do you not watch any of John Salka's videos or mine or John Norman's or Anthony Avila's? Do you not watch them? Yeah. Do you not learn something from watching a video? And granted, someone doing a lecture, our good friend John Norman, his Fire Officer's Handbook of Tactics, that whole video series, John, is him and his class. Now, a couple of videos of fires and stuff, but it's John, our good friend in his Class A, talking. And if you're a good enough trainer, if you're a good enough mentor, you should be able to hold their attention. And you don't have to do, you don't have to do card tricks and ride a unicycle and a balancing act to keep people's attention. So I guess enough with the excuses that, video training is very popular right now. Look at there's a ton of stuff. So I guess get past that. If you're the one teaching, understand, like anything else, you got to keep them. You can't sit there, like we said, right? The podium people, John, which you're not, the death by PowerPoint, where they stand there and they read. They go, and as it says, no, you got to be active and keep their attention. And if you see people up there and you see them, you go, hey, John, and you see, okay, John, come on, unmute. Let me ask you, at Fives, didn't you guys do that? Yeah, we did this prop and we got this. And actually, if you want, we can cart it around. They can come out the trailer. We can bring it to each firehouse so nobody's having to get together. Oh, God, that's great. Timmy, come on up, right? If you know how to work the media platform you're using, hell, it should be easy. And then, let me ask you this. So hands-on training topics, you talked about that. Come up to the firehouse or whether it's on shift, volunteer, don't matter.
Right.
Training's training. So let me ask you this. Same, right? Just, keep your distance. If you're the one teaching, kind of distance yourself with the group that's kind of, and, make sure everybody's kind of spread out. And if you're a boss or a lieutenant captain, just like you did, where's your mask? Go, hey, guys, spread it out a little bit there. I know. One day we'll be past this, but just right now, on the right flank there, spread it out a little bit.
Yep.
That's just being responsible, right?
And that's the inside training. The first thing I told guys was, and I've seen it done in lots of places, and we used to do it all the time even before COVID, was go train outside. The guys always love going outside anyway.
Yeah.
Something really hot or really cold. So I saw a place that put a bunch of chairs, again, out on the apron in front of the firehouse or in the backyard behind the firehouse in the parking lot. And the boss or the lead instructor or whoever it was, the lieutenant, said, okay, Billy, you're in a truck, right? All right, I want you to go to the truck, the first compartment on the engine side, first engineer side. Open it up, bring something out here. Just don't say nothing. Just grab something and bring it out here. Bring it out, then you start asking questions. Tommy, you see what Billy just brought out? What is that? What's the name of that tool? And he'd give it. Frankie, you're next. Where do we use that tool? Is that an inside tool, an outside tool? Which way does the door swing? You could drill all night long on that. And what you're doing is you're taking everybody away from the closed, confined atmosphere of the firehouse where obviously things are easier to get, infected. And you're bringing them outside. We're still talking at the rig. You could even pull the rig outside if you wanted to and sit around it, with the same distances and grab a tool, grab a motor. You can even start something up. You can even do a power saw. Okay, what do I pull? Billy, you get over here, grab the saw, get in the right stance to start the saw. Frankie, what about the choke? Is it up or is it down? I mean, you can do and everybody can still be sitting 6 feet apart and 10 feet from whatever tool is being discussed. And it's practically hands-on training, except everybody's just touching it individually.
Exactly. So I guess, as we close things off for this one, buddy, I want to ask you to bestow a little bit of advice for our listeners. But I guess if I could say something quick before we do that is, I guess it comes down to, I said it before, acting like an adult. If you're a company officer, chief, being a good parent and making sure your firefighters are doing the right thing and step up and lead, right? We need leaders from the front. If you're going to sit back and not say nothing, God, if you can't tell your guys to move, spread out a little bit or put a mask on, how the hell do you run them at a fire? I mean, can you imagine? I know, John. Well, I don't want to say nothing. No, you know what? It is what it is. And does everybody like wearing masks all the time? How everybody hates what's going on right now. But it's life. It's real. And if we're the professionals we say we are, then do your job, right? Like you said, wash your hands, put your mask on, social distance, clean the rigs, clean your stuff, and you can make, I guess, John, you've said it forever. Good bosses are good motivators. I've said before, they have their hand on the morale siren, the crank on the morale siren, right? If you have good bosses, they know how to keep people vibrant and fired up, whether they're wearing a freaking mask or not, or they're so, you know what I'm saying? Your leadership, your mentors, your young guys and gals, if you can harness that energy, play off of it, we'll get past this. We're going to have a new norm one day, but we'll get past this. But
and you know what? It's a bit of a leadership challenge as well. Just like you said, it's really a little bit of a challenge for the company officers. I know it's a challenge for everybody now, but it's a challenge for company and chief officers too, because now it's a little bit more difficult, maybe just to run a basic, Wednesday night 2-hour drill at the firehouse. Now, because now all these other little precautions have to be observed and looked at and taken care of. And now social distancing has to be observed and talking to each other and passing things from person to person. So you know what? Sometimes things are hard, sometimes they're easy. And when they're hard, we just want you to step up. There's the fire service, as you just said. We're used to stepping up. We're used to managing with, uncontrollable conditions or unfamiliar conditions. And I think, frankly, you and I exposed to a lot of people in the fire service. I think the fire service is really doing very well right now as this thing is continuing and starting to sort of rear its ugly head again a little bit in some places.
At first it was like like you and I've said before, a bunch of marbles hitting the ground and we were trying to catch them. But I think you're exactly right. If you look and talk to people now, we're calming down a little bit and everybody's got a routine. They've figured this stuff out. They've got, now they're just dealing with exposures and people being sick. That's all we should be worrying about now. Everything else should be kind of normal. So great info. I'm glad you brought this one up, bud. It's a great topic that a lot of people have been asking and talking about.
Certainly topical, certainly timely.
Oh, absolutely. So, all right, we do this all the time. We both have said them hundreds of times, but if they want to get a hold of you, best way?
Chief John Salka at gmail.com.
Chief John Salka at gmail.com. I'm Chief Lasky at gmail.com. Hey, reminder, folks, John and our book, 5-Alarm Leadership, is on Kindle. The audio book's going to be out very soon on Audible and iTunes. It's also on, you said the hard copy. I forgot the other format, but anyway, it's coming up. Great stuff. All you got to do is go to Fire Engineering Books and Videos, and you can get any of our stuff. Again, they're moving everything to iTunes, to Audible, to Kindle. It's pretty exciting. So you get a chance. If you have any questions, pop us a message and we'll get back to you. But that's another wrap on another show. We appreciate you, tuning in. Make sure you spread the word. Tell people to subscribe on our iTunes site for Old School, or I put them on my YouTube channel for those that do it through iTunes. But that for this particular episode, great information, great topic, John. John, I always ask you before we leave you to please keep the men and women in your thoughts and prayers. Those serving in the men and women in our armed forces. We said this the other day. God bless United States Navy. What an incredible job they were doing with the ship fire in San Diego. What a freaking challenge. God bless our sailors and, again, all our servicemen and women. And remember, folks, never forgetting means never forgetting. God bless you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.